Welcome to another edition of Around the Table with Stacy Smith as we take a look at the political scene. If you are as old as those of us on this edition of Around the Table, then you have witnessed something never before seen in American presidential politics. In the last 50 years, one president has resigned from office under scandal. Two other presidents have been impeached. One of them, Donald Trump, was impeached twice. And now former President Trump is facing a federal indictment and trial as he runs again for the presidency. And it has to be said that the indictment and upcoming prosecution is at the hands of the Biden Justice Department. The Hollywood writers, I don't think, could come up with a script like this, especially because right now they are on strike. But we will talk about what all of this means politically with my panel of analysts. And with the prime seat at the table is Jim Byrne. Jim is the chairman emeritus of the Democratic Party here in Pennsylvania. Jim served as the state party chairman during a crucial time for the party. He also served as president of the Allegheny County Council and also as mayor of Millvale. Jim is an attorney in town. As we go around the table, we find Keith Schmidt. Keith's background in politics goes back to the Reagan presidency, and Keith was the state director for former Republican Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum. Keith also served as a consultant to Santorum's 2012 presidential campaign. Keith has his own consulting firm here in town. And seated across the table on the Democratic side is someone who I like to call the great philosopher of Around the Table. That would be Joe Mystic. Joe is a guiding light for a lot of Democrats across the state and has consulted on campaigns as well. He also served in several roles in city government, including deputy mayor. Joe teaches law at Duquesne University, and you can read his thoughts about politics and life every weekend in the Trib. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. I want to add once again that our regular panelist, and that would be former Pennsylvania Republican Governor Tom Corbett, could not join us. We hope that he'll be back for our next edition. Now, a lot, as you know, can change between now and when the presidential primaries are behind us. But given what we know right now, does this indictment change the political landscape for the 2024 election? Joe, I will begin with you.
Well, there's a difference between Republican voters and Republican politicians, and even his opposing candidates. Some of the voters stand with Trump because they believe in him. However, most Republican politicians aren't with Trump out of personal loyalty. They're with him out of self-interest. When this begins to cut into their self-interest, their political futures, I think you'll see them backing away from him.
Yeah, absolutely. But if the primary were tomorrow, this hasn't really done anything to change the narrative on the GOP side. He's well ahead of the field. DeSantis is a distant second, and everybody else is in single digits. So if this and look at how tactically he played the victim and the martyr after the indictment and after he came out of the federal courthouse. He went to a coffee shop or some diner somewhere for an event, and he brought all his supporters around him, and he was shaking hands and hugging and taking photographs. So the tactic he's using now is to tell his supporters and others that they're victimizing you as much as they're victimizing me when he makes a photo op and then gives a conference like that. But right now, nothing's changed. His supporters are rabid. Whenever he gets the perception from them is that he's being attacked, they get stronger. Unless some other evidence comes out, or as we move down the field, unless that fever breaks, he will be the nominee in a year.
It's been a long saga for the last 31 months since the November general election in 2020, and it's really been unhealthy for America, and it's been healthy for the Republican Party. I'm one of those Republicans, and I think there's a majority of us that believe the time has come to move beyond Donald Trump. I don't think that he can put the necessary votes to unite our party, the minority party, together with like-minded Democrats and independents to secure the nation's top office anymore. I don't think there's a path. So I, for one, would like to see somehow find his way out of this presidential sweepstakes. But I'm really not certain that this federal indictment in Florida is the path to go. I'm nervous about that path. I know that every administration in the modern era have faced disputes over presidential and administration documents and papers. I don't want to look like we're lowering the bar or setting a dangerous precedent in which, even if the perception of America is that one party is weaponizing the Department of Justice to go after another party, if you start down that road, that's a dangerous road. And I would ask for caution as we face down this storyline in Miami.
Keith, I think you're right, and I think caution is called for, but this isn't about finding some documents that perhaps you didn't know you had and you shouldn't keep. In all the other instances, the public officials, Republicans and Democrats alike, returned those documents immediately. They turned themselves in fact, and said, look, I found these documents that I should not have. This is about refusing a subpoena. This is about stiff-arming the National Archives. This is about keeping documents that you have no right to keep, that are a threat to our national security, and keeping them in such a sloppy fashion that you actually use them and to feather your own nest when you're being interviewed by journalists. This is much more serious than that. I think this is a dangerous a path we're traveling down. I think a more dangerous path is for us to look at this kind of law breaking and turn our back on it because of someone's status, because of their wealth, because of their position in American society or government or politics. If there is one law for everybody in this land, he's not been treated the same as others. He's received special treatment. He'd be in jail now if he was an average Joe. He wouldn't be out walking about because he's a threat to our national security.
Yeah, I have to say this, given the Trump supporters are going to say, yes, but Hillary Clinton got by with it. She was not prosecuted. She had classified documents on a server at her home, which apparently could have been hacked or was hacked at different times.
That's a big difference.
She was investigated by the Justice Department. Trump had his own shot at her. Bill Barr said, his own attorney general said there was no violation there, that this was an inadvertent thing. Trump went on to use his own cell phones, use his own servers. He did whatever she did, but he did it in the max. He did it. His kids did it. Other members of his administration did it. They all did what he accused her of doing. So if it's so bad, then they all should be charged.
That's what a lot of people say, as a matter of fact.
Well,
Jim, you were going to say something.
The difference is intent. Look at Mike Pence. Look at Hillary Clinton. Look at Joe Biden.
Well, they will say that Hillary Clinton, she did have intent because she destroyed the documents on her own without giving anything back to the federal government.
Well, she did not destroy them. An attorney representing her took out personal emails that had to do with hair appointments and family business and things of that sort. If Bill Barr didn't find something that she did wrong, I suggest there's probably nothing she did that we.
My two Democratic counterparts are talking like lawyers, largely because they're lawyers.
Well, we are lawyers.
But Stacy does bring up a good point, and on my word of honor, 2 hours ago, I had a call from a longtime friend of mine, whose name is Mark, and we chatted for a while in small talk. And I said I was doing this program today, and lo and behold, he leads with Hillary Clinton. I mean, the perception of America is a double standard. That's a real issue. And I do agree that he's already got preferential treatment. In a way, I believe some of that is necessary based on the sensitivity of the position he held or is pursuing. I think we have to be sensitive to the American presidency. And there should be consequences. I believe probably you're right, it can be proven. But is there a middle ground somewhere? Short of a conviction, can we find a way to get through this perilous time so we don't create a situation in which it looks like both administrations are just going to weaponize the Department of Justice to do their bidding? That's the danger. The perception is almost as dangerous as the reality.
The flip side of that coin is that the perception of letting a man, because he's a former president, walk away from a 37 felony count indictment, in my opinion, is worse than the path we've chosen.
Here's what I suggest. I don't know if you guys have done it. I don't fault you if you have not. But I think if you're serious about citizenship, you have to read the indictment. I've read it. It's horrifying. The things that are in there will just knock you out. Okay, the stuff he did, the things he said, the way he mishandled matters of national security, atomic secrets, nuclear war secrets, the way he mishandled that, you should read that and then make a judgment. Because I think that, if those things are true, he should be in jail.
Well, some people who should read that, of course, are the other Republican presidential candidates, and we will talk about how that field may react to all of this when we come back in just a moment.